Hi everyone! Today's flip lesson is going to be on Punnett squares. And Punnett squares are a square diagram that we can use to determine the probability that an offspring will have certain traits from their biological parents. So this was originally created by biologists to figure out that ratio or percentage or likeliness that a offspring will have a certain trait. So a few vocab word reviews that I want to talk about is dominant genes. So dominant gene is the one that's going to be most likely to happen. So in our example, we'll be using eye color today. So a dominant gene for eye color is brown eyes. Brown eyes are a dominant gene, the most likely color that you're going to see just around. A recessive gene is a gene that can be masked by the dominant gene. In our case, that's going to be the blue eye color. And any other eye color really is a recessive gene because brown is dominant. A phenotype is the physical appearance of a trait in an organism. So what this means is if you have blue eyes, you have a blue eye phenotype. So just because it's a recessive gene doesn't mean that you can't have it. And if you have brown eyes, then you have a phenotype of brown eyes. So it's just whatever appears on your body. A few symbol reviews that we're going to be using within the squares. Capital letters stand for the dominant gene. So this example shows R's, but in R squares we'll be using B because brown and blue both start with B. It just makes it a little bit simpler. So anything that's a capital letter is the dominant gene. Anything with a lowercase letter is going to be that recessive gene. If you see a capital letter and a lowercase letter next to each other, it's considered a hybrid gene, but the dominant gene will win out in this case, and you'll see a couple examples of this in a second. So this is just a basic Punnett square. Literally, it's just 4 squares next to each other. Pretty simple. Go ahead and draw a couple of these in your notebook right now. Go ahead and take a few seconds. The next thing I want you to add is we're going to just always go ahead and put the father's genes on top and the mother's genes on the side. It really doesn't matter which way you do it as long as you know that one and the other. But for our purpose of our class, we're just going to go ahead and put father's genes on top, mother's genes on the side all the time, so we're not getting confused and everyone has the same things. So like I said, for this example, we're going to be using eye color. So for this first one, I'm just going to go ahead and have the father has brown eyes, and the father has both brown eye traits, so he has no blue eye traits in him. So that's why we have 2 capital B's, because brown is a dominant gene, so that's a capital letter. The mother, however, has just the blue eye trait. Even though it's recessive, she has both recessive. So the mother has blue eyes. So we're going to have 2 lowercase b's right here. The next step is to kind of start to figure out what the probability is. So the best way to do this is to look at one square at a time. So this is almost kind of like a multiplication or an addition. So we're going to take the big B and just go ahead and bring it down, copy it into this box. The lowercase b, go ahead and copy it. So we're just going to copy each one over. So big B, little b, big B from the top all the way here, lowercase b, and one more time, lowercase b, bring it over. The next step is to figure out which gene won out in each box. So if we go back really quick, we can see that there's 1 dominant and 1 recessive gene in each box. But we already learned that the dominant gene will win out in a hybrid case. So since there's a big B and a little b, this is considered a hybrid. But the dominant gene is going to win out. So that's why when we go to this next one, every square has an uppercase B because the brown eyes will win out. So this offspring, if the father has 2 brown eye traits and the mother has 2 blue eye traits, this offspring will have a 100% chance of having brown eyes. I know this is a little confusing, so we're going to do one more example. We're just going to start over from the beginning. So we have the father on the top, the mother on the side, and our 4 blank squares. This time, the father has brown eyes, but he does have a recessive blue eye gene, which means that one of his parents had blue eyes. So we have 1 dominant brown eye gene and 1 recessive blue eye gene for the father. The mother, however, she still has blue eyes, and both of her recessive traits are blue. So we have 2 lowercase b's. This time it's going to be a little bit different, but it's the same concept. So we bring down the b's from each box. So this is an uppercase B here, lowercase b. Same for this bottom box. These are identical. But look what happens when we have a lowercase b here and a lowercase b here. It looks a little different than the ones we've seen before. So we have two lowercase b's in this box and two lowercase b's in this box. Again, we're going to have to go through and figure out which one is dominant, which one is overpowering the other. So if we look here, there's a big B and a little b in this box, and a big B and a little b in this box. So we know that the dominant gene is going to overpower the recessive gene. So these two boxes on the left are going to be dominant genes. But these two boxes don't have the dominant gene or the capital letter. So this is the recessive gene winning out over here. So when we go across and we cross things out, we have the capital B, lowercase b, lowercase b. So this is a little bit different. What do we do now? So we can't actually 100% know what eye color we're going to have, but this offspring has a 50-50 chance of having brown eyes or blue eyes because there's two capital B's and two lowercase b's. So there's a 50-50 chance. I want you to go ahead and practice doing a few more of those on your own. Just go ahead and make up some traits, any traits that you'd like, just to practice carrying down the B's, carrying them across, figure out which one is dominant and recessive. That's what I want you to work on tonight. But for tomorrow in class, we'll be working with your own personal traits or a made-up family traits, whichever way you want to do it. So just go ahead and start thinking about traits that you have, traits that your parent might have, or traits that your make-believe family might have, and just go ahead and jot a couple notes down in your notebook. If you're still a little bit confused, there's a video link right here so that you can watch a video and get some more explanation. Don't worry if you're a little bit confused when we have class tomorrow because I will review this again. So again, just go ahead, practice a few more times, practice bringing down the B's, and also I want you to jot down a couple of traits that you have, your make-believe family has, whatever you want, but just come to class with a few traits.